Hi, my name is Emma Kiley. My partner was Anna Dahl on this project, and the name of our farm is called Happy Heifers Dairy. Happy Heifers Dairy is located in Christian County, Kentucky, which is in the southwestern part of the state. We have a total of 236 acres available, but only 215 is usable to our cows. We have about 60 head of milking cows, but only 10 employees on our farm. And the milk products that we sell from our farm are strictly used for liquid dairy products.
So our cattle numbers for our calves in the pre-weaning stage, 0 to 2 months, we have about 6 calves, and then the post-weaning stage, we have about 30 calves, and for our heifers before they're of breeding age, we have about 9, and our pregnant heifers we have about 24, and we have 12 dry cows and then 60 lactating cows. And I calculated that using the numbers below with a 15% cull rate, their age at first calving being 23 months, and their non-completion rate being 2%.
The barn area that we use to house our calves, so we have two different setups. For our pre-weaning calves, they are housed in individual hutches so that we can keep a closer eye on them in those critical phases of and make sure that they get their colostrum. Um, And then after post-weaning our calves, that we group them together in about groups of 5. So we put them into similar to the individual hutches, but they're called super hutches. So there's about 5 calves in there at a time. So it still allows for group integration so that they can get to know the members of their future herd. And it does still kind of limit disease outbreaks. So if there were to be an outbreak, hopefully we can contain it to just one pen instead of it having spread throughout the whole new calving herd. The calves do have straw bedding within their hutches for comfort, and each calf receives their own. They are bottle fed, so we make sure that we strictly feed those calves and make sure that they're getting all the nutrients that they need in this vital growing phase.
So our heifer barn, we have a barn that's kind of similar to the UK dairy, and it's pictured to the right. They have about 27 acres of 24/7 pasture access, and then they can go into the barn whenever they like. The floors are laid with a sawdust sand mixture, and they're cleaned weekly. And they have food and clean water available 24/7 as well. And our pregnant heifers are housed in a section of the compost barn when they're like close to giving birth so we can keep an eye on them. So then when they are in the compost barn about to give birth, they do not have access to pasture just since it's their first time and everything goes somewhat smoothly.
Our dry cows are also housed within the compost barn. So in our compost barn, we do have 3 separate sections, one for our milking cows, one for our dry cows, and as Anna just said, for our pregnant cows, which do not have access to pasture. But our dry cows have their own section of the barn where they do have access to outside pasture. It is 20 acres that they are able to free roam out there. And they still have food available to them inside the barn as well so that they can graze and still get a total mixed ration so that we're ensuring that they get all their vital nutrients.
So our cows are housed in the one half of the compost barn, and they have access to 80 acres of pasture. On hotter days, they mostly spend their time in the barn since they really just like to be cooler, so they don't spend too much time outside. And when it's milking time, they come up to the barn and they're always ready. So even though they have like 80 acres, to roam, they still come up and they want to be milked. And that's their pen is connected to the milking parlor, so it makes it easy.
So for our special management, the cows that unfortunately get sick or injured on the farm have to be tied to a freestall barn area with sand and sawdust bedding to ensure like extra comfort so that we don't further progress those injuries. And we do keep them separate from the rest of the herd in case they have anything infectious, such as mastitis can be a problem that we experience on our farm as well. So since mastitis is a very contagious bacterium that can be spread quickly throughout the herd, we want to make sure that we isolate those animals away from everyone else so that we can keep a close eye on them as well to monitor the progression of it and give them the medicine that they need to clear everything up, and so that we can make sure that that animal gets back and healthy. Also, within this area, we have our squeeze chute, which not only is used to examine the animals for when we have doctor visits, but it can also be used for when we do artificial insemination. So our squeeze chute is actually located, it's connected to our our parlor, and the walkway leads up to it. And like Anna said, our heifers are very good about just walking up to the parlor, and they are very easy milkers. So we usually don't have to round them up. They usually just come right up.
So, anyways, talking about our milking parlor, our cows get milked 2 times a day, and the parlor is connected to the compost barn on the milking cow side, so there's easy access. Our parlor, 28 cows can be milked at a time, and we have pre and post dipping required. We have to make sure that our udders are cleaned thoroughly since they have access to pasture. When it rains, there's mud, so they can very easily get a dirty udder. So therefore, it's important to keep our equipment clean before each cow, and that is a big thing in our milking parlor, that everyone has to keep everything clean as possible so things like mastitis don't spread.
So the feed that we feed all of our different cows depends on what age group they're in and like what level that they're progressing at. So, but each of the cows and heifers usually get a total mixed ration that supplies all their needs. And like I said, heifers and dry cows and lactating cows are fed different types of total mixed rations just to better fit their needs and the vitamins that they need, especially like when they're lactating or pregnant. And then calves are fed obviously milk, and when they are first born, we bottle feed the colostrum from them, so we take them from their mothers pretty quickly. And we start them later on. We start them on a grain of age, and then we mix that in with a roughage. And since all of our cows, except our pregnant cows, have access to pasture full time, we have the total mixed ration available to them. But in the winter months, when they aren't able to get as much forage as they would in the pastures, we integrate more grasses and bales of haylage and stuff like that so that they can get those missing requirements that they would normally get in our pasture.
So our manure system on our farm, we obviously do compost bedding for our compost barn, and all of our manure gets stored in concrete pits like pictured below. And so we have each of them are stored with manure, some are with sand, and that is until they're ready to be mixed with the sand and sawdust to make our compost. So yeah.
That's our farm.